Now, we begin. And indeed, once again, greetings unto you, beloved and holy, and indeed ancient of friends. Indeed, greetings unto you, begotten of the Father before all worlds. Indeed, greetings unto you, the one who is Christ. Indeed, greetings unto you, each and every one of you, who have traveled so long and so far through the labyrinths of the dreams of separation in order to encounter all that reveals to you the truth of who and what you are. Indeed, greetings unto you, O holy child of God. In that ancient beginning, since before time is, I am with you. For we are but brother and brother, brother and sister. Yet even more than this, we are of one light, one soul, one which you may call heart. But clearly I speak here not of the heart that beats within the body, but the heart by which the heart of the body beats. We are of one breath, but I speak, of course, not of the breath of individual bodies, but the breath by which all bodies breathe. We are of one light, not the light that the body's eyes use to see, but the light by which all bodies may be blessed to see with the eyes of love. We are indeed that light, that breath. We are indeed that heart. We are one soul. Together, as that one, as though a great ray of light burst forth into infinite sparks, we have brought forth individuation, that we might together as one create all worlds, all potentials and possibilities. We have journeyed into the darkest of those possibilities together, always. We have journeyed into the greatest heights of that light together, always. And if you would well receive it, there are worlds upon worlds upon worlds upon worlds, dimensions upon dimensions upon dimensions upon dimensions of one fundamental eternal light. That light is in you now. That light is the existence of your existence. That light is the soul of your soul. And so when anyone begins to feel the first inkling of the desire to awaken, to come home, to remember God, to remember the truth of who they are, all that is occurring, and it is indeed extraordinary, is that all sparks of that one soul, the longing that is held in every spark of light, which you might call the individuated soul, is calling out, is praying, is longing for the very same awakening that you feel beginning to move you. And yet, in the extraordinary infinitude of dimensions and worlds, perceptions, vibrational patterns. There will be some who seem to be ready to receive it and go ahead a little ways ahead of others. In them, the ripeness has been born. They have received it. And now they hear a voice, not their own, calling, come home. Come to see the truth of who you are. As they then begin to be moved by that one voice, that is the voice of all souls, or all sparks of light in all dimensions and all worlds, their journey is not alone. For the whole of the cosmos journeys with them. Each time then, you think a loving thought. Each time you open the portal of your being through the power of forgiveness. Each time you breathe the holy breath of God and dare to open through that very longing to receive the gifts of the Spirit, the fruits of the potentials of God Himself. You have indeed uplifted the farthest of stars, for the vibration that is occurring within you through your desire is felt and is known at some dimension and level in every spark of soul, in every dimension, and in every world. For well have you heard me say unto you, separation does not exist in all of creation, except as a perception and the creation of a world in which it seems to be self-evident that there is only separation, that the soul is far from its God, that indeed the soul is forgotten and replaced by the constructs of the mind and an identity with a body that seems to prove to you that there is distance between you and your brother or sister. But again I say unto you, though illusions may have the power to bind, they do so only because you, the holy and only begotten child of God, have extended that power into your creation, have birthed illusion and the many forms of it in order to be bound, in order to experience not separation, but the very fruit of the power within you. Can you then begin to understand, and dare you be willing to receive, that each time you breathe the holy breath of God, each time you open the heart in the depth of true communion is prayer, not beseeching God to bring you great gifts, but remembering that I and my Father are one. That love is the essence of my being. That light, the very light that shines within you and gives you your existence, is already shining through the entire cosmos. For that very light is the light that allows you to see a flower bloom. For the light is also in the flower. It is in the tree. It is in the wind. It is in every loving thought. You cannot venture anywhere in the field of awareness without beholding the light that is in you now. That one light births all of creation, and you are that light. When you breathe the holy breath of when you rest in the communion of true prayer, when you dare to feel the longing in the depth of your heart for God, when you are willing to seek out within yourself the courage, which will look like courage from the side of the fence of illusion. It is simply self-evident power from the side of the fence of Christ. To elect to choose forgiveness, to elect to allow that longing to move you by faith, not by knowing, but by faith, into what you seem to no longer know. You would call it not knowing, the unknown. Each time you are willing to follow the effect of faith, which is born of the feeling of that longing, turned into the prayer of the heart, whether it be through forgiveness, through breathing the breath of God, through desiring more of your Father's presence. That longing and the choice you make from it is felt in every spark of life, in every dimension and every world. And though it may appear that another, in some dimension or another, your next door neighbor, seems totally resistant and completely what you would call in your world the unconscious of the presence of oneness, unconscious of the reality of God, in profound resistance to anything that would change them, rest assured they have been touched by the longing and prayer of your desire. I share this with you because I wish to impress upon you how important it is now in your time frame, in this dimension, for many, many, many beings to recognize the power that dwells within them, to come to see that though you seem to abide in the aloneness of your room where a body sits, you are not alone. And your prayer, your longing, reverberates throughout all dimensions and is already melting, softening, dissipating the one and only energy that you can be said to have created from your desire to experience separation. Can this be but fear? For it is fear alone that blocks the love of God from you. It is fear alone that has obstructed your own recognition of who you are and what creation is. I wish to impress upon you in this hour, knowing that this message is going to reach a very, very large number of sparks of light. You may rest assured that I will take care of that. It is important for all beings who hear these words to come to sit in the aloneness of their room and to know that all power under heaven and earth resides within them now. And that as they open to their longing to move beyond the shackles of fear into the remembrance of love, that light is already exploding, touching the heart and soul of everyone in every dimension. As that light of your very longing, as the power of your very prayer touches, because you are but one, the spark of light in not just every sentient being in every dimension, but literally in all forms of creation, whether it be blade of grass, flower, animal, mineral, as you know it in your dimension? Are these not the vibrations of energy of light, taking form that you may experience them in this dimension? Oneness pervades creation. Every spark of light is uplifted, every spark of light touched by the blessing of Christ. For when you have felt that longing and surrendered to it, when you've been willing to set aside the momentum of mind and the world it has created seemingly around you, and have rested in and recognized your longing for God, when you have felt that impulse in the depth of your heart, the heart by which the physical heart beats, you have already incarnated Christ. You have felt the deepest impulse of pure soul, right where you are, right where you have believed a separated one is sitting in a chair in a room alone. That longing for God is God. It shines as the Christ. It is the very energy that reminds you that I and my Father are one. And the longing is that I may know it more fully, that it may operate through me ever more deeply. And it does this first through the spark of light that you would call the individual soul. It shines or emanates through the higher mind that is connected to the soul, emanating from it, and also emanating light in deeper dimensions of slowing density and vibration that give birth to a certain quality of mind in which something called ego can begin to arise, and the first elements of fear may begin to be born, and it streams down through the emotional fields and through these layers of light becoming density, becoming worlds, becoming your world, your body, the body of your neighbor. Christ is the soul of your soul. Christ is the heart of your heart. No wonder we have called this pathway the way of the heart. This pathway is ancient of days. I have shared with you many times that it was implemented in what you would know as thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt. It began to stir in the hearts of mankind. It began to flower everywhere around the globe as that one heart was stirred to come from the dream of separation. It developed, as you would know it, in ancient Egypt. It became the tradition of what you call the Essenes. It is flowered into what you would call mystery schools. It has flowered and become what you may know as the contemplative traditions within certain theistic religions. That strand of light, the remembrance that is the atonement, has been protected by many of what you call your religions or churches, even those you've had some judgment of. Is it not time to forgive all judgments and recognize that nothing can come into form that does not serve the plan of God? Let us then together extend great thankfulness forgiveness to each and every brother and sister throughout the history of mankind, which is the history of the dream of separation and its transfiguration, who has heard the call and has felt the longing of the heart, and has journeyed to the desert to sit in silence for days and weeks and months and years on end, following that longing. Let us give thanks for all who have sought to find a way to create some kind of organization in which light could be emanated and given, that the teachings beginning to disseminate or to sink into mankind could be repeated, could be given, could come to be written down as best as one could remember it. Can you begin to trust the purity of the longing of the heart within each and every being who has seemingly preceded you in space and time? I invite you then now, in this very moment, to throw open the doors of the heart, and there to let your attention rest, and simply ask of the Holy Spirit, show me humanity. Show me how beings have been touched by the same longing that I have known, that I have felt, that has caused me to journey out into nature or to begin the process of seeking for the truth. Can you give thanks for how those very beings birthed out of nothingness, somethingness, in which there could be the manifestation, the revelation, and the remembrance of God? Can you forgive yourself for the projections you have placed upon them, as though they are something evil, as though they are something beneath you? What is a part of you can hardly be beneath you. Give great gratitude for the way showers, I believe would be your word, that have come forth before you, and because of their longing, because of their surrender and their commitment, whether it be the writing of words, the creation of a ritual, that which is called the buildings of the great cathedrals, in which this land has several. Can you come to see that it has always been an error to perceive those as seeking control of you? For what they have birthed has come forth from the same longing. And it is because of what they have birthed that you have even been able to recognize that mankind has always known God is. As the echo of an ancient remembrance, obscured by fear, oh yes, twisted and turned by the beguiling ways of ego, which at one time was known as Satan. For fear births the form of that which veils God. Can you come to see then that all beings before you have been moved by the same longing, have felt as lost as you have ever felt, and have found a way to pray, have found a way to access higher mind, and begun to receive enough of its seeds to devote their lives in some way to move through the obscurity to seek the truth, and have sought to leave traces, that which can serve you and all beings as this one grand awakening takes place, is it not time to ask of all of them your forgiveness? For there has never been an organization made by the mind of mankind, whether what you would call secular or spiritual or religious, that has 1 ounce of power to control you. Unless you give them permission. And each time those that have entered into the spiritual journey out of their longing for God have been defeated by their fear and twisted it into the possibility of control or punishment or guilt or what have you, is this not the same twisting you have felt in your own being? Have you not also twisted light into fear? Have you not also sought control, dominance over another? Have you not looked upon others who seem different than you and found fault with them? Is this not the same energy? For how could you even begin to see it in them if it is not also within you? Therefore, we want to make a suggestion for you, something that perhaps none of you ever tried. Ask of yourself, what is the religious or spiritual tradition into which I have incarnated or been born? For many of you, it will be what is called the Christianity. You have believed, and many within that form have believed that Christianity was named after me, Jeshua ben Joseph, but your brother, your friend, and a man who walked upon the earth as you walk, moved by the same longing, who perhaps knew a little bit more of devotion, the willingness to be radically transformed by the love of God. But rest assured, that religion was not named after me, for my name is not Christ, but Jeshua. It's named after you. It is named after you. And it is a reminder that Christ is who you are. Many of you carry such judgments of what you believe has been apart from you and thrust upon you to subjugate you. Yet I say unto you, you are the creator of all forms of existence. If it has been misused to subjugate, it is because you desired it, and because you subjugated yourself to it. Therefore, forgive your brothers and sisters who have preceded you, and have, in spite of their twisting in fear and giving in to the temptations of fear, yet were moved by the same longing that has moved you. If it be that which is called the Judaism, something I'm much more familiar with. For as you well know, that when I walked upon this plane as a man, that called Christianity had no existence whatsoever. So Judaism is closer to my experience as a man in the world. If it is what you call the Hinduism, it doesn't matter what the ism is that you were birthed into. Look well within it and spend some time. In each of of 7 days. And in the evening hour, as the sun is setting, light a candle before you on your altar. And as you light that candle, invite the Holy Spirit to bring that spirituality, that religion, that pathway, if you will, into your awareness. As you do so, ask that the Holy Spirit would rest at the crown of the head. Invite the holy breath to bring that light down through the mind, down to the heart, and continuing down through the entire body. As you allow the Holy Spirit to bring to you the images, the forms, the structures, even the teachings, even the voices of those that have journeyed before you in that particular form. And as each comes to you, it could be the image of a cathedral, it could be the first time you heard what you call a minister doing what they call the preaching from the Holy Book. Whatever that image is, whatever that voice or image of an individual is, pause with each, very slowly. Extend to it your forgiveness, and then ask it for forgiveness of you, for any judgment that you have ever held upon it, or upon that voice, or upon that teaching, or upon those bells, or upon that incense. Doesn't matter what it is. Let the Holy Spirit reveal for you the images, the sights, the sounds, the memories, even those ancient of days that have left within you a residue because not of what was done to you, but what you did with what was done. That forgiveness may become completed within you as it expresses and touches the many forms of humanity's quest for God. All of it has been birthed out of the very same anguish that you have felt. The longing for something that intuitively you know is there and has been lost. The longing to find a way to build a bridge back to God. And again, just as you have sought to build your bridges back to God and then use them for your ego, and then judge them for failing you, so too have many brothers and sisters before you fallen or been given in to the temptation to allow fear to usurp the visions of love. And just as you have longed to be forgiven, that the guilt you have carried from numerous wounds be lifted from you, so too are the brothers and sisters who have gone before you for what you call thousands of years, longing for forgiveness, longing to have the creations and their distortions of them be forgiven. And in this hour, I want to bring particular attention to one such, what is your word, the phenomena of a distortion of what seemed to be a good intent. Know you that which is called the Inquisition? Have you ever had judgment upon it? Have you ever wondered how could anyone support and sanction the attempt to stamp out the divine feminine? to rid the world of heretics. I invite you to come to see that deep within the manifested effect, the twisting of love, was indeed a very pure intent. The intent is the same as you have always known, to be rid of what could veil the truth of God in your being. But because you have not known the truth of God, because you have been afraid to surrender to its fire and allow true transfiguration to occur, you could not see clearly. Likewise, those who initiated this knew that same seed of pure intent, veiled and twisted because they did not know that the truth of God is love. They began to mistake various forms for being more important than other forms. In fear, as you well know, those who do not approve of you seem to become your enemy. Those who do not join you, who speak the same language, have the same color of skin, eat the same foods, believe the same ideas, begin to look like what you call the outsider. Is this not true? Have you ever feared an outsider? Have you ever carried the energy of wishing to help the heretics and the unsaved to know what you know? Mistaking what you know with the concepts, ideas, and beliefs of dogma. For indeed all ideas are symbols of symbols and are twice removed from reality. All words are symbols of ideas, and ideas are symbols of the mystery of God. But is it not easy to lose one's humility and to begin to identify with the external form of the idea in hope that it can replace the absence of the fire of love that burns in the heart of Christ? This then was the twisting that turned good intent into what you have known as the Inquisition. Wherever fear has twisted love into some form of madness, the outcome can be what you would call as quite horrific. When I speak this to you, I speak from some form of personal experience. And yet I say unto you, the same power that was in me then can be awakened within you now. And that power is forgiveness. That power is the restoration of the reality of Christ, who can look upon all beings and knows that what is not love is but a cry for help and healing. And Christ, though crucified, hated, thrown away by the voices of fear, tortured, cast into prison, yet turns to the imprisoner in the longing of the prayer of the heart in oneness with God. How can I set my brother and sister free from the pain of their own fear? was that transfiguration of wholeness that I had already come to in my journey, gifted and supported by so many teachers of male and female form, from an early age, at the age of what you call the 4 or 5, I was already being taught, I was already being guided. I was given so much support to seek for God, to remember God, to practice the ways of forgiveness, the ways of self-love, until there burned within me the longing to be the incarnation of God, which Christ is. And in that day and that hour, when those who had been lost in fear sought to get rid of me through what you call the crucifixion, there was not one moment that I contracted away from love of who they truly are. With me constantly was the inner prayer of forgiveness, the longing, and I want you to pay very close attention to this, the longing and the prayer within my own heart and soul, Father, how can I set my captors free? I've been rather involved with that ever since. Indeed, my beloved brothers and sisters, would you not afford your many brothers and sisters who have longed for God, yet been twisted by fear, and have thus expressed not love, but the cry for help and healing? Would you not afford them the gift of your grace, your longing, your prayer, to become the one whom the Father can transform into the power of Christ, that all beings, all sparks of light may be set free, that their own prayer for help and healing can be completed, so that they too may join you in the resurrection? Is it not time to give up the belief that you have an enemy? Is it not time to give up the false perception born of fear itself that something outside of you has caused you such misery? Is it not time to truly come to understand that what is not love is not evil, but fear? And that where fear is in the ascendancy, there is a pain and a suffering and a longing for release. Would you not be that one who uses time constructively by longing that the Father transform you into the lover of love? Would you be willing to enter into the same longing and the same prayer that I held as I went gladly to what you call the crucifixion? For already did I know that the Father answers my prayer. The longing is already alive within me. For I looked out upon my brothers and sisters, and when I say this, I do not just speak of those who happen to exist around me in space and time at the same time. I looked upon my brothers and sisters and saw all of humanity, stretching back in time and forward in time, lost under the weight and veil of fear, repeating the same patterns over and over again. And I asked of my Father, how can I release my captors? How can I release my brothers and sisters in the suffering of their fear, their delusion that you are far, that you would judge them and condemn them, for they condemn only themselves. Make of me what you will, that I may be that one who sets my brother and sister free. For when I looked upon them, as I sat deep in my prayer and meditation, and saw all of humanity as a vortex of energy in which the pattern of separation was playing out, what you call the ad nauseum, I looked until I could see that I looked not upon another, but upon myself. I saw literally that I am the self of every self, that I am the heart of every heart, and the soul of every soul. And my one prayer became, Father, make of me what you will, that all beings may be freed from the hell of their own suffering and be restored to their holy sight of who they are, that you exist and that only love is real. Is it not time for you to become so devoted to love that this becomes your only prayer? So that in each moment as you step into it, you are already dwelling in the longing of the deep heart that is Christ. That each time you look upon another, your only longing is that they be set free from any trace remaining born of fear, creating guilt, self-hatred that is so painful it must be projected out upon another in a mad attempt to be released and relieved from the hell of separation from God. And so in each of your 7 days, as you look upon these images, voices, and memories, forms, constructs, ideas that will be brought to you by the Holy Spirit, each time you pause and breathe the breath of God, each time you rest in the heart of Christ, look upon it and ask of that one, that thing, that idea, that incense, that cathedral, whatever it may be, when you ask of it for forgiveness and grant it forgiveness, forgiveness is emanating throughout all of creation, through many dimensions and many worlds, where beings are held in separation because of their own guilt. Is it not time to join with me and see the sinful as sinless? Not as a concept or an idea that you think about on a Sunday morning or Saturday at your Shabbat, or when you sit upon your meditation cushion and spin your little beads, but with every breath, with every longing, with every step, that you become the one incarnate, devoted to setting the sinful free, by restoring them to sinlessness in your own sight. By joining with them and understanding and developing and recognizing that as Christ, you are already one with all beings. That you can indeed allow the Holy Spirit to bring to you anyone who is suffering. That you can look upon their being and bless them. You can breathe the breath of the heart that extends light. You can let it enfold them, what you call like the cocoon, You can wrap them in light and speed that light up more and more and more until it becomes so bright that they seem to disappear within it. And then you can speak to them. My brother, my sister, my friend, you are sinless. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. Come, join us in the resurrection. Set your heart free, for you have not failed. I love you. I know that you are me. You can wrap the arms of your heart around them, hold them close, without moving a muscle, and thereby transmit the frequency of Christ, even as I did, that assisted others to heal even from what you call the sickness of the body, for at least as long as they were willing to remain free of the perception of sinfulness. But great is the temptation of fear. Great is its effect of guilt. For no one can heal another. Healing does come from the inside out. But what you can do is demonstrate that you are one who is healed. That you know and understand the power of true forgiveness, not as concept or idea, but living energy, living practice, living love. Who then among you will join with me and walk with me even as I walk to what you call the crucifixion, with a glad heart, knowing that I was but being moved by the Father's longing to answer my very prayer, to transform me and carry me into some form of beingness that could truly bring such light to the world that it could touch every heart, every mind, every being yet suffering the dream of separation. Is it not time to rest in the same longing within yourself? Is it not time to end time? The burden of time exists only where the heart has not yet fully surrendered to being the blessing of Christ's presence. As you return to the wholeness of your being, time itself is translated into eternity. You begin to lose all sense of time because you lose the sense of burden, and it is replaced by sublime enjoyment, deep peace, the stillness of a perfect joy, born of a certain knowingness that God is. And in that stillness, the potentialities of love can indeed and will indeed begin to flower through your countenance and suffuse your consciousness in your expressions, in your creations, in all of your doings. And rest assured, it was set in motion thousands of years ago as the pathway of the atonement of mankind will be completed, and heaven will descend to earth, where you will come to know that you need not seek for heaven or leave this world to go to it. You are the bringers of heaven to earth, each time you love and love truly and purely. Join me then trust that your forms of crucifixion need not be quite as dramatic as was mine. Unless, of course, you would prefer it. This could be arranged. Or if you prefer it, you will call it to yourself. Let us then together ask the Father that our crucifixions be gentle and minor, as we step with great joy through each ring of fear into the wholeness of the Queendom of Heaven, into the power of the living Christ, who knows that only love is real, who looks not upon another but sees only themselves, and is moved by one longing, at the end of suffering be fulfilled, that the one before me be set free. For as my brother or sister is set free in my holy sight, because I have developed the capacity and the ability to bless and to shine and to heal, to teach, to uplift, to inspire, to hold. Because my brother or sister is uplifted, I am uplifted with them. For there is not two, but one. And by the way, as we have observed you, as we observe many in different forms and practices, but especially those that have been attracted to that which we have birthed as this very pathway, we would say unto you that there is yet some tendency toward the great temptation of what you call the seriousness, in which the mind tends to forget that the Holy Spirit is in charge. Begin then in each of your days with your own plan, and then enjoy observing how the Holy Spirit totally changes. And indeed, the next time you notice that the Holy Spirit has changed your vaunted, amazing plan for the day, pause and breathe the breath of God and give thanks for revealing what truly matters and where you are truly calm. What would it be like to go through one day in which you are constantly saying thank you to the Holy Spirit for revealing what your plan could not even conceive of? Might that not allow you to sleep better in your night? Instead of lying there lamenting how you've managed to fail yet again. And when that's too painful, it becomes, they have failed me. Let us rejoice then that the Holy Spirit indeed corrects all things, and it does so now in every moment. If we are willing to trust, if we're willing to let it be unfolded, let it be shown. I thought I was visiting my friend on the other side of town, and here I am in front of this grocery store clerk who's looking a little depressed. Is this not the one to love? Rather than seeking out to buy what you call the frozen pizza, to rush home so you can drive across town and have dinner with the friend that you've been planning on seeing all day long, even though your car broke down, your friend had to work overtime, the train took them to the wrong destination, and your dinner with them is being delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, and you're getting more and more frustrated and more frustrated with the fact that this world can't seem to get it right. And for some of you, berating yourself for failing to get it right. Failing to see that the grocery store clerk before you is a little depressed and in need of the presence of Christ. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for totally ruining my plans. I give you permission to ruin my plan of every day and reveal yours for me. For my longing is the same as Jeshua's so long ago, and yet remains the same in every moment. Father, help me become that one. Shape me into that which knows and can bless and can be so present that love touches the depth under the depression, under the wound, under whatever the veil seems to be, to love the one in front of you. The love of God. For God is but love. And when you do this, you are indeed living the way of the heart. All that we have sought to give you in all of these years has been by design to remove the veils, to help you deepen your seeing, but more than this, your capacity to be the one who is present as love, not as ego. But the two are mutually exclusive. Seek well then to rest in your heart, beloved friends. Remember that the heart within your heart, by which your heart beats, is the same heart that moved me. It is the same heart we share as one with our Creator. It is the same heart that gives the power of the beating heart to the grocery store clerk who's a little depressed. It is the same heart that beats in everyone who has gone before you. And in that longing, no matter how obscured or twisted it became, the same longing to return to the wholeness of God moved them to create forms that had never existed on the planet in their own attempt to try to find the way out of suffering, and passed it on, and passed it on, and passed it on until it came to you. Forgive yourself then for looking upon your great cathedrals and complaining because your mother and father made you go to what you call the church. And trust me, as a child, I did complain occasionally. Know that in this hour, a great message has indeed been given. The greatest of messages has had no words, but has been wrapped in words, waiting for you to unwrap it. You will do so as you abide in the silence of your breath, your heart, and your prayer, and invite the Holy Spirit to reveal the hidden depth within this hour's message. As you do that, let it be your practice, if you will. You will be experiencing healing and revelations that will vastly accelerate your journey from illusion to reality. And as you step into what I have shared with you, you will, even in this incarnation, awaken fully as the Christ. And your light will indeed uplift the farthest of stars. For it speaks to the heart of every being, in every dimension, in every world. Therefore, let this day and hour be the time in which you give up finally the belief that you have something called an ordinary life. Time can waste as well as be wasted. And when time is wasted, it will waste. You will feel the light you have perhaps been developing begin to wither on the vine if you don't care for it, if you don't water it, if you don't come to the garden daily and till the soil, not out of duty, but out of great joy, because you want the Father to transform you into that which can heal all of creation. Time given to the longing of the heart that beats your heart will transform and heal you, and creation with you. Let this day and hour then be the day and hour in which you finally decide that the wasting of time saves you from nothing. It but creates the burden that withers away what treasure you have accumulated, because you are not caring for it. And what little you have will be taken from you, not by a force or source outside of you, but by your own lack of self-love. And you thought watching reruns on television was a good way to spend an evening. No more. Isn't it time to be tired of what you call reruns? Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, we will allow the message of this hour to come to its close. For I believe that you can feel and can hear and can sense that its fullness has indeed been reached. Take this message like a seed, precious, priceless, rare, that is by grace landed in the palm of your hand. Wrap your fingers around it. Bring it to your heart. Breathe it into your being. Digest it into the depth of your being. Bring holy waters of the living truth through prayer, through forgiveness, through all that nurtures your own self-love and deepens the quiet of your heart in true prayer. For true prayer is silence. Let that seed begin to stir within you. Let it begin to germinate and flower and birth the fullness of Christ within you. And you will have indeed joined me in the only thing that matters. For what matters is your brother and sister who suffers the hell of separation, the weight of guilt and unworthiness. Become one so devoted to loving the grocery store clerk that their depression disappears, that you can't even fathom wasting time. And let time become for you the revelation of what has always been eternal. And when you complete this in its wholeness in your own being, your own need for time will also be completed. And then you will come to where I am. For I went ahead of you a little to prepare the place for you, and to drop the seeds into space and time for you to follow. Let that completion come within you, even as I let it come within me, and the purpose of time is finished. And there are indeed dimensions and worlds within my Father's kingdom that wait for you. But there's no sense in attempting to go there until you're ready for it. And you are ready for it and prepared for it by fulfilling the Christing of your being here. This then is the great blessing of time and of space. Be you therefore that one who becomes the living Christ, who dwells in love and not fear, and thus experiences the power of the light of love itself. For the power of love is love's meaning. And with that, beloved friends, go in deep peace, celebrate with one another, look well upon one another with the eyes of love, of gratitude, of truth. Be you therefore at peace. Amen.
Amen.